Wow. Hey guys, Francois T here. So you may have heard some of that in the background. I was just rewatching one of the most emotionally provoking scenes that I have ever seen in any show. Hello and welcome to this show that we should have done a live chat on a long time ago. I promised you guys I would do it. I'm just glad that we can talk about it now. Before we go any further, this chat is going to deal with topics of a very sensitive nature. If you've not seen 13 Reasons Why before, you need to know, I need to advise you that this chat is going to be dealing with some topics that people might find triggering or they may be hard to deal with. 13 Reasons Why is a very hard-hitting look at suicide. Basically, for those of you who haven't seen it, it follows the story of Hannah Baker, who is a high school student, or shall I say was a high school student, and she ends up committing suicide, but before she does, she records 13 tapes explaining the reasons and more specifically the people who are to blame, but also the reasons why she killed herself. It's really gripping stuff. There are some very horrific scenes throughout this season, but I do believe that this is a show that everyone should watch, regardless of age, background, ethnicity, or whatever. And for the younger people, I think this is a great opportunity for parents to watch this show with their children. If they have questions, they can stop the show, pause it, and answer the questions right away with kids. I was deeply, deeply affected by this show when I watched it, and watching this suicide scene again for the first time since watching the finale a long time ago has brought it all back for me, I must say. If you are in the room, say hi, and I will definitely give you a shout out. We're going to be here for about half an hour, you guys. I'm sorry that it can't go any longer than that. I have another chat coming up after this one, but let's go in and start talking about this show, what you liked, what you didn't like, what it may or may not have done for you, and if you think this is a show that other people should be watching. Now, I will have my opinion, obviously, but I'm more than happy for you to have yours. You may completely disagree with me, and that will be totally fine. Let's go over to the room and see who's joining us for this 13 Reasons Why chat. Well, we have Jin. Jin's joining us at the moment. Thank you so much for being here, Jin. Great to have you here. So we've got a couple of people in the room. If you are here, certainly say hi. Let me know what you thought of the show, of the season. The good news is that it has been renewed for a second season, so it is going to come back. I believe 2018. We don't have an exact date for it as yet. Oof. Still feeling a little overwhelmed by watching that death scene, guys. Death scene, suicide scene. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this show from the point of view of just watching it as a show, from the point of view of what it may or may not be doing for suicide. Certainly feel free to sound off in the comments section. And while you are, I'll keep telling you what I think. Suicide is something that needs to be discussed. It is something that does happen, that's the reality. It does occur. It's shocking enough to know that suicide in and of itself occurs, but then to also know that it happens to younger and younger people is really tough to deal with, and it's also tough to talk about and to bring up. What I feel like 13 Reasons Why has done is put up a platform for children to talk to their parents about the topic, for parents to talk to their children about the topic. It may be a sensitive topic, but the better option is to start a discussion about this rather than to not say anything and realize that it's too late. And sometimes it is too late. Sometimes people are so scared about talking about certain things, and it just can lead to disastrous results. I'm going to go to some of the comments. So Jen Cat says, oh, good and so sad. I don't know what you're referring to there. If you'd like to elaborate, feel free. Glad she gave reasons because people thought what they did meant nothing and it took a part of her soul each time. Yeah, exactly right. So that's the thing as well. There is this stigma with suicide that is a very unhealthy stigma, I might add, that suicide is selfish, and the person who does it doesn't even think about the people that they leave behind. But the fact of the matter is that someone who goes as far as to commit suicide has gone through so many things, and that's what I love about this show. Another reason why I love this show is because it wasn't one isolated event. There were so many things that happened to Hannah Baker before she took her life. We got to find out about all of them. Now, I mean, some people may say that the rape scene is herself being raped, Hannah's rape scene, is what threw her over the edge, but it was all of the things that she described in the tape. It's every single thing. It's very, very tragic, but I don't think I've seen anything quite like 13 Reasons Why before. I don't think I've seen anything as powerful as 13 Reasons Why, certainly not as conversation provoking. It almost takes the taboo away, and you know, it creates that platform, as I was saying earlier, for people to be able to discuss it. I'm so glad that it has come back for a second season. It's going to be interesting to see where they go with this now. You know, will they be able to live up to what they did in the first season? Only time will tell. But as a standalone, season 1, I think, was absolutely incredible. Now, different people have different opinions. Some people say that this show glorifies suicide. I'm going to be the first, certainly here on Comment Below, and let me know I'm going to be the first, to say I don't think it glorifies suicide in any way, shape, or form. I think 13 Reasons Why displays an accurate depiction of what suicide is and of the reality that suicide is not about one thing. Generally, it's about multiple things, many and varied different things that happen in a person's life. The topic is certainly one to be taken very, very, very seriously. Almost too easily these days, people fob it off when someone says they're going to kill themselves, because it's almost become like everyday sort of lingo for people who are just being dramatic. Now, I know that that's a response that people can have, that when people say they're going to kill themselves and they're just being overly dramatic. Sometimes people are just being overly dramatic, but is it worth the risk of not doing anything and finding out that they've actually gone ahead and done it? I myself have not committed suicide. I've had suicidal thoughts when I was much younger. I went through depression when I was much younger, and I had suicidal thoughts at that time. I'm certainly not suicidal now, but I have been in that frame of mind. I've dealt with people who have been suicidal, and let me tell you from personal experience, it is not an easy thing to deal with. It's not a pretty thing. It's certainly not something that should be glossed over, and that's something that I absolutely appreciate about this show, is the fact that they just put it out there bravely and said, we are going to basically have an unfiltered show where we reflect an accurate depiction of what is going on in the world when it comes to suicide, but particularly when it comes to suicide of younger people. Now, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this, whether it's about suicide in general, whether it's about the show, anything like that. Certainly feel free to let me know. Now, I just wanted to get out a few points about suicide, and that's why I was saying what I was saying, but this can still be a lighthearted discussion. I just want everyone to keep in mind that this show is going to affect people differently. Some people will be triggered by it because they were suicidal, or they know people who are suicidal, maybe both. Some people may have found it just really hard to watch and have never experienced the topic at all. And other people may have found it an enjoyable show and thought nothing more of it. And then, of course, there are other people that, as they say that this glorifies suicide. And you know, that is their opinion and they're entitled to have it. I don't necessarily agree with that opinion, but there are people out there that do have that opinion. So whatever your opinion is, certainly let me know, and I'll be more than happy to read it out here in the chat. I hope I'm not having technical issues. I did have some comments coming in before, but they don't seem to be coming in anymore. So I don't know what's happening there, but I'll give everything a moment just in case you guys do have some things that you want to say about this show, about 13 Reasons Why, just in general, or about suicide. Anything along those lines is totally acceptable, and we're probably going to be here for about another 20 minutes. So there you go. Jin says, I was on a suicide hotline in college. Oh, there you go. So do you mean you were working for a suicide hotline? Yeah, so the people, I have a lot of respect for those who work in suicide hotlines, because it can't be an easy job at all. As I say, dealing with it myself, whether it was going through suicidal thoughts or dealing with others who have had suicidal problems, it's not easy. So to have this as a job, I'm sure wouldn't be easy at all, and I have mad respect for anyone who does that. Jen says, it's a great teaching tool for these days. Yeah, certainly I would agree with that, for sure. Certainly working at a suicide hotline would bring it all up. You know, it makes it an even bigger reality, dealing with it whenever, you know, you're working there, whether it be daily, once a week, whatever it is. I'm sure it would have been a huge teaching tool. Jen says, we all have very low spots in our lives. That's true. We all do. And I think it's, yeah, like different people deal with those low spots differently. Everyone is different. Sorry, guys. We're dealing with a heat wave at the moment and it's bringing flies. So if I appear to be swatting away at air, I'm not. I'm swatting away at flies. Like seriously, today was 33 degrees Celsius, which translates to something very, very high in Fahrenheit. Yeah, different people deal with low spots in their lives very differently. Some people deal with it quite well, others don't. Some people have support, others don't. And exactly, Jin saying, you know, it's how you recover from the low points is exactly right. It is. It's all about how you recover from it. But I also think it's about the support that you have, or the lack of support. When we look at Hannah Baker as an example, she went through so much, and I don't really feel like there was a lot of support there for her. Now, granted, she had Clay, and she really liked Clay. And despite the fact that I'm sure you guys were as well, but certainly I was wondering what his involvement was in all this. It turned out that, well, he shouldn't even be on the list. She just brought him up for the sake of explaining a few things to him. But when you have so much piled on, like Hannah did, it becomes very tough to deal with. And she even reached out to the counsellor guy. Now, I forgot his name, but she reached out to him and he didn't really seem to be doing anything to help her. In fact, if anything, he was hindering the situation. So I wasn't very happy with what he did. Jen says the teachers made her more defensive and silent. Exactly right. You know, the teachers weren't helping the situation at all. Now, whether that was because they didn't know how to deal with it or what, you can't deny. They certainly did not help the situation. If anything, they made it much, much worse. So I believe that also this should go, like, teachers should be watching these shows as well, to help them realize what not to do in those situations. I mean, they should have that basic training anyway. You know, high school is such a huge time in a person's life, especially around those years. You know, everything is so big, and you know, it's so tough to deal with certain things, and there are stresses in any case in high school. But I mean, this show is showing exactly what can happen in those situations, and that's not easy at all. So yeah, when I was younger, I will never forget that I was working for a coffee company, and this coffee company had quite a few stores in Melbourne. And one of the great things about this was that I was given originally a part-time job at one of the stores, and then because I wanted to do more hours, I was able to go from that one to other ones when I was needed. It got to a point in my career where I was traveling between two stores, my main one and another one, that I would, you know, sort of halve my time to each of them. One day when I was going to the other one, things just weren't working out for me. Nothing was going well for me. I felt like the world was crashing around me. My home life was really dreadful, I must say. Without going into too much detail, I thought I'd fallen in love, but I'd gotten my heart broken. And then I had gotten it broken even more because of other things that had occurred with this particular person and this situation that I'm not going to go into too much detail about. But I remember being a couple of stores down from the coffee shop that I was going to. I remember sitting down having a coffee, and having a smoke, and just thinking about life in general. And the road that the store was on is a very big road and a very well-known road in Melbourne. It was a very busy road. There are always lots of cars in this road. This road is never silent. It's always very busy. And I remember thinking to myself, and you know, true story, no lie, I remember thinking to myself that I could end it all right now. I could just walk right down the road and have these cars run over me and just end it all. And that was a very big moment for me, because it was so enticing to do just that. I knew in that moment I had a decision to make, and ultimately it was not knowing what the future would hold, potentially the naivety of not knowing what the future would hold, that kept me going. And so I knew that when I stood up, I had the road to the left of me, and I had the store in front of me, like 3 stores down, and I could go one of 2 ways. And I ultimately ended up going into the store and continuing on with my job and continuing on with my life. But that was a huge moment for me. Watching this show did bring up triggers for me, multiple triggers for me. In the case of suicide, like the actual suicide itself, it brought up that moment. And I think looking back on that moment now, it's kind of hard to believe that I made it, you know, that I'm still here. But we learn to move on, don't we? We learn to get through these things. I mean, at least some of us do. When we look at Hannah Baker, obviously, you know, she wasn't able to handle it, and she did kill herself. And it's just terrible that she did. For me, I'm just happy that I was able to continue on with my life. Yeah. And that I'm still here today and I'm talking to you guys, and obviously things have changed, but it did bring up that thought for me of being in that moment at that time. And I think one of the things we learned throughout the show as well is that Hannah doesn't feel like there are a lot of people she can talk to. She tries talking to a few people, but she doesn't feel like there are a lot of people she can talk to about this. And I certainly felt the same way. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons to take away from this is to be open with, if you're a parent, with your children, with your friends, with your students. Let them know that, you know, they can come to you, or, you know, if it's appropriate, go to them, talk to them, have these conversations with them, because it might make all the difference. For me, I was lucky that I made the decision to go into the store. I didn't talk to anyone, but not everyone is so lucky, and that certainly was evident with Hannah. Just want to refer to some of the comments we have here. Honey Hepburn is here. She says, I love you. I love you too, honey. Thank you for being here. She says, I'm driving, but I'm listening. Thank you, honey. I really appreciate it. Sarah's here. Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for being here. And Jen is saying hi to everyone. So yeah, so that was my story. And this show took me back to that. Now, obviously, I didn't do anything, but I do know people who have tried to commit suicide, and yeah, obviously it's not pretty. Whether it's someone saying that they will, through to them actually attempting to do certain things, it's never easy to deal with. But that is why we need to know more. We need to discuss these things. They need to be an open topic for everyone to discuss. Oh, Sarah, that's fine. Thank you for being here. We are talking about 13 Reasons Why, but the main topic we're talking about at the moment is suicide, because the show 13 Reasons Why relates to suicide. So, so guys, we're going to be here for about another 8 minutes. So if there's anything you guys would like to bring up to do with the show or with suicide in general, feel free. And we will certainly discuss that. Sarah says, I dealt with suicidal thoughts, and I've dealt with someone close attempting suicide. So yes, it's something that I should be open to discussing. Yeah, that's the thing. And that's what I was saying before, Sarah, that not only have I had the thoughts myself, but I've dealt with people who have come close like you have. And I think, you know, there's always going to be like a part of you, especially on a platform like this, where obviously you guys can see my face and you can hear me. There's a part of me that says, oh gosh, you know, I shouldn't go there. We shouldn't be talking about this. But the reality is that it is the exact opposite. This is something that needs to be spoken about. This is something that everyone needs to get, not necessarily comfortable with talking about, but they need to get to a point where they can discuss this, because it can be prevented if people feel that they can open up and discuss these things, and to those who they want to discuss it with, if they are open enough and willing enough to have these discussions and sit down and listen to what these people are going through. Sarah saying definitely go there. Yeah, and so that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm going there, and that's why you can certainly watch the video back once it's uploaded, but I just went through my own story a few moments ago. But yeah, I definitely think we need to do this. So I'd like to know if you guys have seen the show, and if you have, if you watched it with anyone, kids, family, friends, what their thoughts were. Do you agree with what certain people are saying, which is that this show does nothing but simply glorify suicide? Do you think this is a show that everyone needs to see? Certainly comment below and let me know. If you have any advice for anyone going through suicide, or anyone that knows anyone that's going through it, certainly feel free to let me know, and I will read it out and discuss that quickly with you guys. I'm so sorry that this chat is only going to go for another 5 more minutes. I do have another chat already that I need to get to that was delayed. This was meant to happen yesterday, but what I might do is do a suicide chat in general, and I might do that in the very near future, just do a suicide chat on its own, because I think it's definitely something we need to talk about, and so I will plan for that. And if you're watching this delayed and you would like to be a part of the suicide live chat, then certainly let me know and we will do that, because I don't want this to be a taboo topic anymore. This is something that we definitely need to talk about. We need to talk about how to deal with this. We need to talk about how to approach the topic with people, or if you're in that situation, how you can approach it with others, what other measures you can go to. Obviously, there are counselling services out there, there are hotlines out there. What else can you do? This topic needs to be discussed. And one thing that 13 Reasons Why shows, or rather doesn't show, is how to actually go about dealing with the situation, because no one really seems to know what to do. So we certainly need to discuss that. Sarah says, I haven't yet. A few family members have gone through and did say they think it's a good thing to shed light on. Yeah. Oh, excellent. That's good to know. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. It is a good thing to shed light on. I'm glad that it's out, and I'm glad that it's coming back for the next season next year. So definitely keep an eye out. I was reading something earlier today that said it was coming back in October, as in this month. I was like, wait, what? Am I missing this? No, it's not coming out till next year. So haven't missed it, but we'll definitely be covering it on this channel. Jin says seasonal depression is coming up for some people. Oh, there you go. I honestly hadn't heard of seasonal depression, but there we go. That's something that we can bring up as well, for sure. So I'll definitely do that. Honey Hepburn says, I've seen the show. I have a lot of friends who feel like the show glorified suicide. To me, it was very relatable, so I didn't feel that way. I wish it touched more on ways to get help successfully. Yeah, exactly right. That's what I'm trying to say as well. And so that's why I feel like we should do that here. Comment below and let me know. Have a discussion and talk about ways to deal with this, whether you be the person going through it, whether you be someone who can be there for others, just ways to discuss it, options, things that we can do to try and deal with this situation, which is not an easy situation to deal with anyway. And he says that she has seasonal depression. I'm so sorry that I don't know what that is. If someone wants to let me know what it is, that would be great. I do know what depression is, but I don't know what seasonal depression is. So just being honest, I don't know what it is. So I am sorry, guys, we have literally got about 2 minutes left. So if you want to explain to me what seasonal depression is, that would be great, and I'll read that out. And then what we might do is have a very quick moment of silence, and then I will plan to do a depression chat that goes longer than this. And we can discuss all of that, and I will give you guys updates as to when that will be. Best way will be to join the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/CBALMK, or otherwise I will just put a video up here saying, giving you information on when the dates and times are and all of that, so you won't be out of the loop. Sarah says, meaning your moods dip during certain seasons. Oh, there you go. So sorry that I hadn't heard of it before, but now I know what it is, so that's good to know. Thank you, Sarah. All right, guys, so what we might do is have a moment of silence. I think if any of the chats deserve a moment of silence, it would definitely be this one. In this moment of silence, I want us to take a moment to think about those who are dealing with suicidal issues at the moment, whether it be the person themselves or the people that are surrounding them that are affected by it, those who have lost their lives due to suicide, and those who have been affected by those who have lost their lives due to suicide. It is a topic that needs to be discussed. If 13 Reasons Why can take this moment to step out there and put out something as powerful as what they are doing, the least we can do on comment below and let me know is talk about it. So a moment of silence for those who have lost their lives to suicide, who are dealing with suicide, or who know of those who have lost their lives or who are dealing with it. And the moment of silence starts now. So thank you very much, everyone. That means quite a lot. Just quickly, Sarah says, definitely do that mental health chat, and I'm dealing with depression at the moment, so send love my way. Yes, send love Sarah's way. All my love to you, Sarah. Depression is certainly not easy to go through at all. It is one of the most underappreciated things that anyone can go through. I've heard it myself. I've heard a lot of terrible things about people who are completely naive when it comes to depression. So we'll definitely do a mental health chat for sure, and we'll do it very, very soon as well. I promise you guys we will. Sending love, hope, and light your way. If you are dealing with any of those symptoms, please know that you do have a safe space here. Comment below and let me know to talk about it. We are completely judgment-free here, and respect everyone and what they've gone through. So you do have a safe space here to talk about it. Do keep in mind though that if you bring it up in the chat, obviously it's in the video, I'm sure you understand that. If you leave it in the comments, that people can read it, but you will not be judged here. Anyone that judges anyone for certainly for going through a mental health issue, will be blocked from this channel, and obviously their comment will be deleted. But thank you very, very much for your time. I'm so sorry I have to leave and go and do my other chat. If you are in the room, I hope you can join me for that chat as well as we go over to that one. But I will certainly keep you all posted with the mental health chat, and that will be coming up very, very soon. We've also got a lot of other stuff coming up, and comment below and let me know that I'm going to let you know about at the end of the week. I'm sure you're going to be very excited for that as well. But in the meantime, thank you once again. As I always say, make love and not war. Love is one of the most powerful powers that every single person has. Use it to make the world a better place and give someone you love a hug today. I love you guys a lot. Bye, guys.